Welcome to the Default Profitable Podcast. You're listening to the next episode, and today we're going to talk about what it takes to start, grow, and manage a sales training business, ironically. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Ashley Beck Cuellar, right?
Cuellar.
I even read it on LinkedIn.
No else. Cuellar. It's really difficult for everyone.
Okay. Well, there we go. So, Ashley, I think we've known of and about each other for probably 15, 20 years, but why don't you take 3 or 4 minutes, introduce yourself to everybody who's listening?
Sure. I'm Ashley Beck Cuellar, and I know that there are L's in my last name and you want to pronounce them so bad, but they do not actually sound like L's. I worked for Perk Marketing for a very long time. It was Tri-Auto originally. It was even
CIK.
Yeah, CIK also. Yep. We had a lot of titles, actually. There was a lot going on in that period of time.
Yes.
But I started there in 2007. After I got out of college, I ran some restaurants and stuff for a while. My degree is actually in hospitality and event management. So I did some of that for a while, ended up at Perk, learned to sell automotive direct mail, which is not even a thing that I think I really knew of when I started selling it. And I got some sales training early on from a couple different groups of people, Lucian being one of them. And then Brian Neal was my sales trainer for a lot of my career with Blind Zebra. But I spent 17 years with Perk. So I thought, like, because I always had a sales coach, I thought that like everybody had a sales coach, that was just like a thing that everybody had.
Yeah,
Turns out
perfectly normal.
that is not the case.
Not the
So
case at all.
not the case at all. So, after 17 years with Perk, I stayed on the marketing side. The guys, after about 12 years ago, started building a software business, and they were using the cash from the advertising side, which what there was a lot of, to self-fund the software startup. And there was kind of always this narrative that maybe I would end up on the software side, but quite frankly, I was just too good at what I was doing, and we couldn't stop me doing it because I was making tons of money doing it, and we needed to keep feeding the software business. And then about 2 summers ago, a founder came to me and said, "Okay, we're ready to rebuild your side of the business." And I was like, "Oh boy, I don't really want to do that. I don't really have any passion for that anymore." So I gave them 6 months. They gave me a nice goodbye package, and we parted ways. And I kind of had always had this feeling that sales coaching and sales training was something that I wanted to do, just because I'm passionate about selling and being able to sell more like a human, and not like a robot. And so I just kind of have started building it one layer at a time. And I'm finding that it's not something that just happens overnight.
No, it
It
is
takes a lot.
not. So so you were shocked that people didn't have sales coaches.
I truly was. I honest to God, I was. And I think it's because Perk was such a bubble. Like, we just
Yeah.
lived in that little bubble of us for so long. Um, and I just, even though when I would get out and like go to conferences, I don't know, I just thought that everybody had one. I thought that everybody had an external sales partner, sales strategy partner, other than their manager, to talk to once in a while about sales strategy and other things like that. But it's not the case.
No, no, it's not. What so obviously I'm in the same space, but what do you see as the value for that? Why did you think it would be so natural that everybody would have one?
Well, because I think that I built, like, the way that I sell today is 100% built on how I was coached for my entire career. And so those are just the foundational pieces of how I started selling. And the people who also trained with me and stayed with me have stayed great salespeople as well. You know, like, you just are instilled these things through a coach, um, that give you great foundation for how to build your sales practice, and also a sounding board that isn't in your echo chamber all the time. Um, which is why I think the outside piece, and not just your manager coaching you all the time. I think that's why that part is so important, because we all live in the same spot all the time. And when somebody else comes in and says, "Well, have you thought about it this way?" You're like, oh, no, but that makes complete sense." And so that outside view, and it also helps to keep the abundance and detachment all going when you have somebody else to just get it out of your brain with, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So we talked a little bit beforehand. I've got 2 kids who are fresh out of college, 24 and 25.
Hmm.
And, it's interesting to me. My daughter she works with autistic kids, so she has nothing that she could ever learn from me. She's made that clear. Um, my son, on the other hand, is in sales, and I have gone from a complete idiot, "You know nothing, you don't understand our world," to, "Hey, you might actually have a clue about this."
Uh-huh.
But but it's not his company that's offering him any training or support, really. And he's been
Wow.
with 3 companies, and they're kinda like, "Hey, you work remote, here's a laptop, here's a list of people, make some calls, we'll record them and criticize you."
Honestly, that is the
Yeah,
training these days.
yeah, which
It's
doesn't make any sense to me.
I know, it really I of the last couple of one-on-one coaching clients that I have had, they are people who work for software companies, corporate companies who just aren't getting enough and they need somebody else. They need another person to talk to and to work through problems with. And so they're hiring their own coach on the side because they want to be better at their job. Literally, one woman is a 36-year-old mom of 3 whose husband has a legacy business. She doesn't even have to have this job. And she started as a BDR at like 34 years old and hired me because she wants to be good at it. And
Yeah,
that to me is it's great. I love it. I wanna do it. I wanna help you, but it's sad to me that your own company doesn't give that to you.
yes, yeah. So, 17 years in sales, you've been coached by a bunch of people, you
Yeah,
make the decision with 6 months warning that, "Hey, I'm gonna go leave," right? And then you open a business.
yeah.
Which in theory, you're just selling sales training, so you don't really. What is it that you had to learn as a new business owner that was a surprise to you?
All the things, all the things. Um, well, the first thing that I was completely shocked by is and I don't know why I was so shocked by this. I can sell everyone else's everything like hotcakes. I it is I th I don't I'm not as good at selling myself. I just there's a it's a different thing, because it's when I was selling direct mail, I was selling a product, and even then, even since I've left, I have sold services for other people, um, and it's just a little bit harder to sell yourself because it feels like narcissism, even though it's just you putting your offer out there and showing that you can help people. So, that has been a learning curve, and I'm working on it. It's still not something and I don't think maybe you don't ever get to completely master that, um, but it's one of those things that I'm like, "Okay, I know how to sell, so I can figure this out. Why is this so hard?" And I think that was the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned was how blessed I was, and I don't even love the word blessed very much, actually. Let's change that to grateful. How grateful I am that I spent
Grateful and
17 years
blessed.
exactly, with a company that had I don't think I ever felt like I was floundering, but I don't think I knew how many resources I had at my fingertips, and how much process and how much structure everybody else had put in place that made my life a little bit more structured, and so then it was just me, and I didn't know what to do. Where do I start? What do I do first? Where's the structure? Who's the operations person here? Because it's not me.
Yeah. It's
Um,
one
so
of the
sorry.
questions that I ask people who are thinking about starting a business is, if you want a stapler, how do you get a stapler? And the people that are from super organized companies, they're like, "Well, I tell my assistant I want a stapler, and I come in the next day at work, there's a stapler on my desk." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's not
Yeah,
gonna work anymore." Like, now you have to go get
yeah,
the stapler.
it's true. It's true. And and I think that that just teaches you if you're bold enough to just do it messy, do it broken, like just blow it up and learn on the way. because there's really no other way to do it because you're not going to learn if you don't do it.
Right.
And mistakes are just lessons. It's fine. Continue on. So, and that things don't have to, we live in such a digital world too, that things don't have to be perfect when you get them out there. Like launching my website was a thing that I probably held on for so long because I thought that it needed to be super perfect and have all the right words from the get go. And then I was speaking at a seminar in front of 50 of the nation's top dental business brokers. And they're older gentlemen, and they were like floored that I didn't have a website up. They were all worried about, like, you don't have a website? And I was like, I mean, nope.
Nope.
And so after that, I was like, I can surely build myself a quick website and just figure it out for now so that it's there, so that people can go to it and see that I'm a business. Um,
Yes.
and then I'll fix it later. It's okay. It's digital and I can get there later. So those types of things I'm learning, just kind of get some stuff out there, figure it out. But also learning your strengths and weaknesses and hiring for your weaknesses is clutch.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that has been also a thing to learn. But I mean, I've learned a ton, Matt. Honestly, like 17 years selling automotive direct mail, like that is a teeny tiny box that I was living in. And so to come out and be like, everybody's like, well, which part of sales do you like best? I'm like, I don't know. I like all of it. I did full cycle sales. So I did the whole thing.
Which is weird to
You
people
know?
now.
It is. It absolutely is. And that's where I was like, okay, maybe part of what my niche is that I like the full cycle sales role and I don't want to break it up. And so if you also don't want to break it up, then I can help you work on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I get that there are places that SaaS model works. I get it. I know that it does. Um, that's not, I didn't do it as much that way. And I don't love the process that way as much.
Yeah. Yeah. So what other things? So let's see, tougher to sell, not a whole lot of structure. What other things
Yeah.
did you pick up? Like, if you think about
Um,
who's listening, right? We're These are people that are at your beginning where you're just making that decision to tell Scott and Andy, "Hey, by the way, I'm leaving in
yeah.
6 months." Right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
when you
Matt, I'm such a fly by the seat of my pants type girl. My dad and my sister are attorneys. I said, somebody do the LLC thing for me and I'll send you the money. And so we did that. And then I just kind of was like, here we go. So I took to LinkedIn, obviously. That has been part of my strategy. Um, Growing up with Brian as my coach, he was always, LinkedIn is important, build a personal brand. And I was like, but what do you mean? I do not understand how to do that. And so I think I tried a couple of times to start posting and find some sort of brand pillars for myself, but it just never really landed. So when I knew I was going to leave Perk, I knew that I had to use LinkedIn as a platform to start to build that brand for myself. And so before I even left, the 6 months I was still at Perk, I started building. I started very small and just started commenting and engaging on other people's content before I posted. And then I posted things I mean, if I went back and looked, they're just simple, small things, just trying to get my feet wet and get some confidence. And then I started to build a really nice community around me. And I have over 12,000 followers at this point over the last 2 years, um, just from engaging and meeting people and things like that. So that was probably the biggest step and catapult to starting to gain some recognition and some brand recognition for my business and build a personal brand for myself. Um, so I would highly recommend LinkedIn as a vehicle and I treat it like part of my business. I treat it like my marketing, and there's a time slot for it, and there are things that happen that go along with it, and it's just part of my process. Um, so definitely a personal brand is important, whether you're doing it on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or wherever you're doing it. Um, Building a personal brand because I was the Perk brand. I was Ashley from Perk for 17 years. And so when I left, I had to figure out what Ashley from Perk looked like without Perk and build that brand up. So that was important. And I hired as a coach. I love coaches. I hire coaches all the time. And so I hired coaches to help me with that stuff because I knew I needed the help with it.
Yeah. All right.
So,
So
like, trying to think what else at first I was like, all right, what do I do? Well, we can talk about how I like went about having getting some of my first clients.
sure, how'd you do that?
You want to do that? Well,
Sure.
so most things still, even though I have built my personal brand on LinkedIn, most things have come from referral. But referral because I get together with my girlfriend and she says, dude, you are all over LinkedIn. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of the point. And she's like, okay, well, I think I have a gig for you. And I'm like, well, all right, let's do it. And so, well, and that's the seminar with the dental business brokers. Like, how would I get in with dental business brokers? I never would have picked that in a million years. And they wanted somebody to come in and talk about Chat GPT and some basic uses of Chat GPT. Well, I can do that. So I did. And it was great. And I got one-on-one coaching clients from it. Um, and they invited me back to their next seminar to talk about building a personal brand on LinkedIn. So
Nice.
that was that was one of my first that I got through referral, and then another one was actually referred to me by Brian. Um, so and because he knew I was coaching and had a request for something that wasn't the right fit for his schedule, so that came in, and then another I was on a webinar. There's a company called Comsor in the software space that is a networking and community tool CRM-ish type thing. And I was on a webinar with them and I got a one-on-one client from that. So making myself visible, I guess, is what we should say here. That is how you get referrals, get clients in. And those were just the inbound things, right? So then I'm an outbound girl too. I've done plenty of outbound. It does not scare me. I do not shy away from it. So when you don't have a giant CRM full of leads that your company has provided you, you have to go find those on your own. And so, one of the things that I did first is I look up, this makes me chuckle because I don't know if other people do this. And I always think, like, am I weird that I do this as my process? I look up the best places to work in Indiana and in Indianapolis. And I start with that list because I figure that if people care enough to get on that list, then they probably care enough about their employees to want some coaching for them.
Yeah.
And so I looked up those companies, started connecting with those companies and their people on LinkedIn, and just started reaching out. So, I mean, it's just like I did when I was at my old sales job, just reach out, say who I am, leave my name with the desk if I need to, and then just start my process, follow up a couple days later, follow up a couple weeks later, whatever I'm doing. Um, so that's how my outbound process started. And then I also have done things like there I live by Park 100. And so I printed off a flyer about a workshop, a 90-minute workshop if their office team